When did your parents damage you beyond repair? I was 8 years old when my father taught me that love was conditional. He'd lined up my report card next to my sister Katie's on the kitchen table like evidence in a trial. Hers, straight A's with a handwritten note from her teacher about what a joy she was. Mine, mostly B's, 1C in handwriting, and a comment about needing to focus better. Katie's report card goes on the fridge, he announced. Yours goes in the trash where it belongs. He made me throw it away myself, made me push it down deep into the coffee grounds and eggshells. Maybe seeing your sister succeed will motivate you to stop being such a disappointment. My mother stood at the sink, washing dishes that were already clean. She always found something to do with her hands when Dad got like this. Later, she'd sneak into my room with cookies and tell me Dad loved me but had a hard time showing it. Even at 8, I knew that was bullshit. The report card incident was just the beginning. Every achievement of mine was measured against Katie's and found lacking. I got onto the junior varsity basketball team. Katie had made varsity in her sport. I scored 1,400 on my SATs. Katie had gotten 1,500. I was accepted to state school with a partial scholarship. Katie was heading to Princeton with a full ride. But here's what my parents never knew. Katie was miserable, too. She'd sneak into my room at night, crying about the pressure. I got a 98 on my calculus test and Dad asked what happened to the other 2 points. She'd whisper. We were both drowning, just at different depths. The real damage started showing in college. I'd procrastinate on assignments until the last minute, then not turn them in at all. Some part of me had decided that if I couldn't be perfect, I shouldn't try. My therapist would later call it learned helplessness with a side of self-sabotage. I dropped out junior year. When I called to tell my parents, my father's response was, I knew you'd quit. Quitting is what you do. My mother said nothing, just that familiar silence that felt like agreement. I moved to Portland, got a job at a coffee shop, tried to disappear. For 3 years, I had no contact with my family. I was starting to heal, starting to believe maybe I had worth beyond my GPA. I was promoted to manager, started dating someone who thought I was enough exactly as I was, even started taking night classes in graphic design. Then Katie died. Car accident on an icy road, coming home from her law firm at 2 a.m. because she never could say no to extra work. At her funeral, my father gripped my shoulder and said, it should have been you. My mother didn't contradict him. I found Katie's journals when we cleaned out her apartment. Page after page of self-hatred, of exhaustion, of wishing she could just stop achieving for 1 second and breathe. The last entry, written the night she died. I'm 27 years old and I don't know who I am beyond my achievements. I'm so tired of being the good one. Sometimes I think about what would happen if I just didn't come home. Would they finally see me as a person instead of a trophy? I brought the journals to my parents. My mother read them and broke completely. My father read 2 pages and said, she was stressed. Success requires sacrifice. That's when I realized the damage was intentional. He knew exactly what he was doing to us. He'd broken us on purpose, thinking pressure creates diamonds. Instead, it created 2 broken kids, one dead at 27, the other unable to believe he deserves to exist. My father called last week. It's been 5 years since Katie's funeral. He's sick now, diabetes and heart problems. I need you to come home, he said. Not, I miss you, or I'm sorry, or I love you. Just another demand, another expectation. I'm not coming, I told him. I'm your father. You owe me that much. I owe you nothing. There was a long pause. Then he said, you always were weak. I hung up. My therapist says I'm making progress, that recognizing the damage is the first step. But sometimes I still catch myself throwing away good things, because that's what I was taught they deserved. Sometimes I still hear his voice when I succeed at something small. Katie would have done it better. Yesterday, my mother called from a number I didn't recognize. Please, she whispered. Your father doesn't know I'm calling. There's something you need to know about Katie's accident. The line went dead before I could ask what she meant. I stood there in my kitchen holding the phone, my hands starting to shake. The apartment felt too quiet. I looked at the screen showing the call had lasted 47 seconds. My legs gave out, and I slid down the cabinet until I hit the floor. The linoleum was cold through my jeans. I kept hearing her words over and over. Something about Katie's accident. What could there be to know after 5 years? My chest got tight and I couldn't get enough air. I pressed my palms against the floor trying to ground myself. The coffee maker beeped that it was done brewing, but I couldn't move. I sat there with my back against the cabinet for, I don't know how long. Maybe 20 minutes? Maybe an hour. That's how Emmeline found me when she got home from her shift at the bookstore. She dropped her bag and rushed over, kneeling beside me. What happened? I showed her the phone. She took it from my shaking hand and helped me stand up. She guided me to the couch and got me a glass of water. I told her about my mother's call while she rubbed my back. You need to know what she meant, she said. I nodded but couldn't speak. The next morning I went to work at the coffee shop because I didn't know what else to do. My hands moved on autopilot, pulling shots and steaming milk. Around 10 I started making a drink without thinking about it. 2 pumps vanilla, extra foam, cinnamon on top. Katie's order. I stared at the cup in my hand. She'd been dead 5 years and I still remembered exactly how she liked her coffee. My coworker touched my shoulder and asked if I was okay. I dumped the drink and said I needed a break. I went out back by the dumpsters and called Cassandra's office. The receptionist said she was booked, but when I said it was an emergency, she found me a slot at 3 that afternoon. I went back inside and finished my shift, but everyone could tell something was wrong. I kept forgetting orders and had to remake 3 drinks. My manager told me to take tomorrow off if I needed it. At 3, I sat in Cassandra's office on the familiar brown couch. She listened while I told her about my mother's call. Do you want to know what she has to say? She asked. I said yes, but I was scared of getting pulled back in. We spent the session making a list of boundaries I'd need if I called her back. No meeting at their house. No involving my father. I could end the conversation any time. We practiced phrases I could use. I need to think about that. That's not something I can discuss right now. I'm ending this call. By the time I left, I felt steadier. That evening, I sat on my bed with Emmeline beside me and dialed the number my mother had called from. She answered on the first ring. Thank God, she said. Her voice was quiet, like she didn't want anyone to hear. I told her I'd meet her, but it had to be somewhere public and my father couldn't know. There's a cafe on Williams, she said. Tomorrow at 2? I agreed and hung up. My heart was pounding. Emmeline held my hand. You're doing the right thing, she said. The next day, I got to the cafe 15 minutes early and chose a table by the window. I could see everyone coming and going. My mother walked in exactly at 2, looking around nervously. She looked smaller than I remembered. Her hair was more gray. She kept checking over her shoulder like my father might appear. She sat down across from me and ordered tea from the waitress. When it came, she wrapped her hands around the cup, but didn't drink. Her fingers were shaking. I waited. Cassandra had said to let her speak first. My mother looked at me, then looked away. I've been carrying this for 5 years, she said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I need to tell someone. She started crying. Not big sobs, just tears running down her face. Your father doesn't know I'm here. He'd be so angry if he found out. The fear in her voice was different from I'd ever heard. Not fear of disappointing him, fear of him. The night Katie died, she said. She stopped and took a shaky breath. She called me. My stomach dropped. What do you mean she called you? My mother's hands tightened on the cup. She left a voicemail at 1:41 in the morning. She said she was too tired to drive. She wanted to sleep in her office and come home in the morning. The cafe sounds faded away. I couldn't hear anything but my mother's words. She asked if that was okay. She said she'd been up for 36 hours and couldn't keep her eyes open. My mother was crying harder now. I deleted it. Before the police came. Your father told me to delete it. He said it